Another trouble India faced during initial period of independence was the secessionist movement of Naga people. In this video, we are going to discuss the Nagaland movement and Jharkhand state movement. Let us first look at the movement for Nagaland. Who were these Naga people? The Nagas were congeries of tribals living in the eastern Himalaya along the Burma border. Secure in their mountain, they had been cut off from the social and political developments in the rest of India. However, American Baptists had been active since the mid-19th century, successfully converting several tribes to Christianity. Among the tribes of northeast India, the Nagas were perhaps the most autonomous. Their territory lay on the Indo-Burmese border, and there were almost as many Nagas in Burma as in India. In January 1946, a group who were educated Christians and spoke expressive English formed the Naga National Council, or NNC. This had the classical trappings of a nationalist movement in embryo. It was led by middle-class intellectuals, and their ideas were promoted in a journal of their own called the Naga Nation. The NNC stood for the unity of all Nagas and for their self-determination, a term which was open to multiple and sometimes mutual contradictory meanings. The Angami Nagas, with their honorable martial tradition and record of fighting all outsiders, thought it should mean a fully independent state, a government of the Nagas, for the Nagas, by the Nagas. On the other hand, the Aos, who were more moderate, thought that they could live with dignity within India as long as their land and customs were protected and they had the autonomy to frame and enforce their own laws. Meanwhile, the moderate wing had begun negotiations with the Congress leadership. In July 1946, the NNC General Secretary T. Sakri wrote to Jawaharlal Nehru and in reply received an assurance that the Nagas would have full autonomy but within the Indian Union. The radicals still stood out for complete independence. In this, they were helped by some British officials who were loath to have these tribes come under Hindu influence. One officer recommended that the tribal areas of the northeast can be constituted as a crown colony, ruled directly from London and not linked in any way to the soon-to-be independent nation of India. The Naga radicals started the demand for an independent sovereign state carved out of India and quite distinct from it. Let us now discuss the journey of the creation of Nagaland state. The independent Nagaland movement was led by Angami Zapu Fizo. Fizo joined the Japanese on their march to India, apparently in return for the promise of Naga independence should they succeed in winning their war against the British. After the end of war, he returned to India and joined the Naga National Council. He quickly made his mark with his impassioned appeals for sovereignty, often couched in a Christian idiom. In 1951, Fizo came down to meet Nehru and demanded the independence. Nehru told him that the Nagas were as free as any Indian and the constitution had granted a very high degree of autonomy in managing their own affairs. He invited Fizo to submit proposals for the extension of cultural, administrative and financial autonomy. But the independence for Nagas was out of question. The NNC's response was to boycott the first general election. Fizo and the NNC had set their minds on independence anyway. They were already collecting arms and organizing groups of home guards in the villages. The state was moving platoons of the paramilitary Assam Rifles into the district. By the summer of 1953, the top NNC leadership had gone underground. Searching for them, the police raided Angami's strongholds, further alienating the villages. Apart from local knowledge and local support, the rebels had one great advantage: the terrain. It was perfectly suited for the guerrilla warfare. The extremists gained control of the NNC. Petitions and demonstrations were abandoned, and preparations made for an armed uprising. The rebels began transporting their weapons to a safe haven in Suesang area. In June 1954, the Assam Rifles attacked a village believed to be sympathetic to the guerrillas. In September, some rebels declared the formation of a federal government of Nagaland. T. Sakri was convinced that they still stood no chance against the mighty Indian nation. He began touring the villages, preaching against Fizo's extremism and warning that violence would only beget more violence. In January 1956, T. Sakri was dragged out of bed, taken to the jungle, tortured, and then killed. It was widely believed that Fizo had ordered the murder, although he denied it. Sometime in 1956, Fizo had hopped across into Burma and then into East Pakistan, from where he continued to direct the Naga resistance movement. After 3 years of long-distance generalship, he decided his case needed the backing of the Western world. He reached Switzerland, where he made contact with Reverend Michael Scott, a radical Anglican priest. With Scott's help, he reached the United Kingdom. In 1963, Nagaland was granted a separate statehood. Fizo spent the rest of his life in UK trying to campaign for independent Nagaland. And even today, there are some insurgency happening in Nagaland, mostly from across the border. Let us now discuss the creation of Jharkhand state. Jaipal Singh was the most prominent tribal leader who was representing them in Constituent Assembly. He studied in Oxford and made a name as a superb hockey player. He obtained a blue and went on to captain the Indian team that won the gold medal in the 1928 Olympic Games. Jaipal was a gifted speaker whose interventions both enlivened and entertained the House. Jaipal Singh formed an Adivasi Mahasabha in 1938, which asked for a separate state of Jharkhand to be carved out of Bihar. They wanted an autonomous state within the Indian Union. In May 1947, the Adivasi Sabha of Jamshedpur wrote to Nehru, Gandhi, and the Constituent Assembly, urging the creation of Jharkhand state out of Bihar. Their memorandum said that they wanted Jharkhand province to preserve and develop Adivasi culture and the language, to make their customary law supreme, and to make their lands inalienable, and above all, to save themselves from continuous exploitation. The Adivasi Mahasabha was renamed the Jharkhand Party. After several years of steady campaigning, they fought under that name their first general election of 1952. With its symbol of a fighting cock, the party met with a success beyond its own imaginations, winning 3 seats to Parliament and 33 to the States Assembly. These victories all came in the tribal region of Bihar, where it comprehensively trounced the ruling Congress party. In the polls, at any rate, the case for Jharkhand had been proved. When the States Reorganization Commission visited the area in January 1955, they were met everywhere by the processions for Jharkhand Alag Prant, meaning Jharkhand must be a separate state. However, the demand was not fulfilled until 2000. Finally, in 2000, Jharkhand state was carved out of Bihar. In our next video, we will discuss the liberation of Goa from fascist Portugal. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and comment because discussion is solution. For more discussions, please subscribe our channel.